Well, 80 years ago, hundreds of thousands of American troops set off from the West Country to head for northern France. And one of the main departure points was Portland in Dorset.
It was from there that 500,000 US troops set off for France between June the 6th and the end of the war. Their story is told in the D-Day Centre, as Richard Slee reports.
Today, Castletown is a quiet location with a small port and marina, very different to 80 years ago. But based in an old Admiralty building, the museum is a reminder of its important role on D-Day. It was from these shores that tens of thousands of American soldiers crossed the English Channel to land on Omaha Beach. That activity reached its peak on the 5th of June and the morning of the 6th, when the shoreline was crowded with boats and vehicles.
Over the years, not much has changed here. Many of the GIs who embarked from this beach and many other locations in Castletown would still find this a familiar scene. But sadly, thousands of Americans did not return from Normandy.
Between June 1944 and May 1945, 26,000 American soldiers killed in the war were repatriated through Portland.
It was an absolute tragedy that so many young lives were lost, but it was for the sake of freedom. This is where the beginning of the end of Nazi-occupied Europe started, and this is a tribute to all those young lives that were lost at the time.
But one man who did make it home was radio operator Peter Orlando, who told us that he had great admiration for the people he met while stationed on Portland.
I admired the English no end because of what they were taking from the Germans, from the Luftwaffe, and I used to wonder how much of that Americans would take before they'd say, wait a minute, let's talk here or do something. But it was no compromise with the English, to their credit.
The museum, which also includes these Phoenix caissons used to build the Mulberry harbours off the landing beaches, is also a tribute to the local people who were living in Castletown when the Americans arrived in 1943. The museum produced a video which includes Jean Rawson, who was in charge of the girls working on the slipways. Jean remembered 3 very important visitors.
And my jaw dropped down to my belly button. So I eventually decided I could not let my monarch go past me without saluting. So I leapt to attention and saluted. And the king was laughing his head off because of what I must have looked like. And then leaning out from behind him was Eisenhower, and he was laughing his head off as well. And Churchill was sort of grinning at me like this, because he got his cigar in his fingers.
They had come to see off the brave soldiers and sailors, knowing that many would not return. Richard Slee, ITV News, Portland.